you guys doing? I'm Kevin O'Donnell. My degree is sports medicine. My class is sports medicine and first aid. Today I'm going to talk to you about the evolution of protective equipment in baseball in the last 15 to 20 years. So what I found out is that the most common injuries that happen in baseball have to do with the rotator cuff, UCL injuries, knee injuries, muscle pains and strains, as well as contusions to the body, as well as lacerations. As far as protective equipment changing over the past years, not much has changed for protective equipment to prevent injuries. Also, there are many preventive measures taken by teams to prevent the injuries, but some are bound to happen regardless of what you do. Depending on the position that the player is playing, also depends on the injury that player is most likely going to sustain. So for instance, let's take a pitcher. A pitcher's injury that they're going to sustain most likely has to deal with the shoulder area and the arm, whether it's rotator cuff, torn labrum, or even tennis elbow, as well as contusions and lacerations to the body and face due to line drives getting shot back at them. One of the protective equipment that has changed over the last couple of years is they came out with a new baseball cap, which is more of like a helmet. It has about 1.5 inches thicker on the sides and 3/4 of an inch thick around the brim area. And what this allows is it allows protection up to 90-mile-per-hour line drive back to the pitcher's head. And not only do pitchers are the ones that are able to wear this, but it's also included for all infielders. Now, let's go to catchers. Catchers are the most injured players in baseball, which they have to deal with being behind the plate, getting the ball thrown at them. But the hardest thing for a catcher to do is catch a foul tip off the bat. And the reason that this is hard for them is because their reflexes aren't fast enough to keep up with that ball. And even though they wear a lot of protective gear, as you see already, it wasn't always like that. Back in the day, in the 18th century, catchers used to only wear a glove, like literally just like a batting glove type glove, nothing padded, nothing. And they evolved into the full gear of a catcher's equipment that looks like a goalie now. One thing that they were missing over the years was a throat protector. And even though they had a lot of equipment, the ball always seemed to find its way in between the chest guard area as well as the face guard area. So they came out with this hanging device that hangs about right here, and it protects the esophagus and trachea area from damage to a foul tip. Even the collarbone area covers. Some of the most common injuries for them is torn ACLs and meniscus. The reason for this is they spend a lot of time crouching, and it wears down the knee and even fatigues it, and then they have to explosively jump up to try to throw a player out, and this puts a lot of strain on the MCLs, the ACLs, and the meniscus and the PCLs as well. One of the protective equipment that they came out with has to do with pads that go behind the knee that are attached to the shin guards, and what it does is, instead of keeping them in a fully crouched position, it elevates them to relieve the pressure off of the legs. Another common injury seen in baseball are obviously lacerations, sprained fingers, broken fingers, deep bruises, subdermal hematomas. And the reason for this is because when a player is running the bases, a lot of times they slide into the plate, they slide into the bases, or they even slide into the players. You know, they play. It's called plate guarding. And what they do is they go fingers first, and they end up jamming their fingers, breaking them. Or when a runner is trying to steal, and the infielder gets in their way to block the bag, what the runner usually do is, it's called spiking, and they raise their front leg up and try to catch the infielder's legs. And because baseball players wear metal cleats, it's sort of like getting a razor to the leg, and a lot of times it lacerates the leg. And I've seen some pretty bad ones where they need like a good amount of stitches to heal it up. As for hitters, they've tried to protect them as much from getting hit by pitches as well as foul balls off of the bat to themselves. And a couple of things that you see now is they have on the helmet, whatever side the hitter is, whichever side of the face is facing towards the pitcher, they have what's called a face guard, or they even have a full face shield. And what that protects against is obviously blunt force trauma to the face, causing brain damage, broken teeth, broken cheeks, broken noses, broken eye sockets. Also, they even have elbow pads, which protects against the same thing, blunt force trauma to the elbow from a 90+ mile per hour fastball. Also, they even have a shin guard that goes down and wraps around the ankle, and sort of like the catchers. And what that does is it protects them again from not only getting hit by the pitcher, but hitting themselves with a foul tip. It does a lot of damage. Usually what it does is severe bruising around the ankle. In some odd cases, it can break the ankle. But most of the safety equipment hasn't changed too much in the last 20 years. A lot of it's changed over time since the 18th century. But as for Little League and younger children, one of the most common things that came up when I searched for protective equipment and stuff like that is a softer baseball. And what they did was, instead of making the baseball the same regulation as the major leagues where it's fully hard, they made it a little, still hard, but a little bit more foamy. And what it does is it relieves a small amount of pain when hit by a pitch or hit by a ground ball or line drive. So I think baseball is coming around just like all the other sports, but it's America's sport, and I don't think it's going to change too much over time. But as for right now, they're implementing new systems to protect the players as much as possible. Thank you for tuning in.